Hello and welcome back to Memories of a Musician. I'm your host, Vito DeSalvo, and once again, this evening we have a great program for you with a group, an ensemble called the Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet. Now, you may remember that on March 26th, 2025, which was episode 11, I had a gentleman on the program by the name of Marino Galuzzo. Marino is one of the members and one of the founding members of the Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet. And that evening, when he was on, we talked a little bit about the saxophone quartet, but not heavily. But we knew that sometime in the future, we wanted to have the whole group on. And we have the current members of the group, as well as two former members of the group, are also with us tonight. Before I bring them on, I want to mention to you that in 2023, this group celebrated their 50th anniversary of being together as an ensemble. And in honor of that, they had a concert and asked me to compose a piece for them, specifically for their 50th anniversary concert. Which I did and accepted to do it. And it was a piece that I wrote called Divertimento for Saxophone Quartet. So I would like to play just a little excerpt from this so you can hear it. This is the current configuration, if you will, of the Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet playing Divertimento for saxophone. And that's from their 50th anniversary concert. And there are actually going to be a few other pieces and excerpts from that concert as well as we go on to the program. And, you know, I was in Duquesne University really all 4 years with most of these guys, and Marino and Mike Jacob and Warren. And Steve is younger. I didn't know him, but other two guys that are coming on, Dave Matthews and George Furlow, knew quite well, and we were all in school together, and that was kind of neat. And it's amazing to me, I think, and a real credit that after all those years that this group is still together and still producing concerts and workshops and recordings and all kinds of things. So it's a wonderful thing. Before I bring them on, I would like to read their official bio of the Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet, and just to give you a little bit more background. The Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet was formed in May of 1973 to explore the wealth of literature written for saxophone quartet. The members were students at Duquesne University who had worked together in student quartets throughout their college experience. Who knew then that they would keep the sound of the saxophone quartet going strong more than 50 years later? Through the years, the quartet has expanded its repertoire to include music from the Renaissance, ragtime, classical, contemporary, popular, and jazz genres. The quartet also has had many special arrangements and original compositions written for it. Their diversified programs have delighted audiences of all ages, from school children to the college campus, in-park concerts, as well as recital halls in both the United States and Canada. Although the quartet currently is performing much less, they were very active locally in the tri-state area, performing at various festivals as well as school concerts and evening recitals, in addition to being heard regularly on local radio stations. The quartet was also very busy hosting some of the most recognizable talents in the saxophone world at their successful summer saxophone workshop each year, which was held at the California University of Pennsylvania. The quartet has been a part of the Pittsburgh Concert Society, the Three Rivers Arts Festival, Bach, Beethoven, and Brunch, and the Pittsburgh Summer Arts in the Park. The quartet is equally at home on the concert stage or playing for a reception or party. In addition to their many local performances, the quartet has performed at regional meetings of the World Saxophone Congress. They have also been invited to play at the World Saxophone Congress meetings in the US, Canada, England, France, Germany, and Japan. The quartet has released 2 CDs. The first CD, celebrating 25 years, explores the variety a saxophone quartet can present, and the second CD, entitled Missile Tunes, brings to you a CD of popular and familiar Christmas songs in both the jazz and concert style. The Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet also provides educational clinics and workshops touching on all topics from beginner to advanced and working as a professional woodwind musician. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm going to bring on the group. And the first members that I'm going to try to bring on here, let me see, are the current 4 members. That's Marino. Hi, Marino.
Hi, Vito.
Okay, and then Mike Jacob is here. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Vito. Hi, Marino.
How you doing?
Hi, Mike.
Steve. There's Steve. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Vito. Gentlemen.
Okay.
Yep. Hello.
Warren Yule. There you go.
Hello,
So-
everybody.
Yeah.
This
Good to
is
see everybody.
the group that was performing my divertimento you just heard. Saw them perform. And then 2 former members of the group, Dave Matthews. Here's Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, David.
And George Furlow. Hi, George.
Greetings.
Hey,
Great to
George.
see everybody.
Hey, George.
George, I wrote a piece when I was a junior at Duquesne for our symphony band called Concerto for Band. And there was a tenor saxophone solo I wrote specifically for that guy right there, George Furlow.
Yeah, right.
First thing I would like to do, gentlemen, is would maybe each of you sort of introduce, give the audience a little bit of a brief background as to when you became a member of the group, and maybe how long you were with the group, or if you're still with them, whatever. Maybe what else besides Saxophone Quartet. We'll start with Marino. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Vito. I do want to say, first off, it's certainly a pleasure to be on the show with you. And it's my honor to be on the show with all these fine gentlemen here. I was an original founding member of the quartet, which, as the name Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet, came into existence in 1973. So from 1973 till now, currently still I'm going to say active, although the activity is much less now. But as a founding member, we got thrown together by our saxophone professor at Duquesne University, Nestor Koval. And at the time, I can't speak for the others, but for me, it was a wonderful experience to actually play in a quartet of saxophones. I had never had that experience before college, and that was a wonderful thing for me. And these guys were like amazing, to be put together with. We were originally called the Duquesne Saxophone Quartet, but that was while we were still in school.
Okay.
And from there, I mean, we've all had our own careers. I've done lots of work, solo-wise as well as quartet-wise, and also flute, clarinet, saxophone, piccolo, and so on and so forth. But my true love is the saxophone, the saxophone quartet. That's it.
Very good. How about Mike Jacob? Hi, Mike.
Hey, Vito. I want to say real quick, Vito, the first time I became aware of you, I think we were in piano class, and I didn't play any piano hardly, and you were playing classical gas and just ripping it apart. I thought, oh, who's this guy? And I think it's the first time I became aware of you. Yeah. But I entered Duquesne I transferred in, I was at Penn State for a year, sort of like what Warren did. Warren was a science guy, so was I. Came to Duquesne around 1969 or so, met these fellows. And I was a clarinetist, and I did that all through grad school. Sort of dabbled with the saxophone a little bit. I think it was Marino's influence to get me to play saxophone. So I purchased my first one probably around 1990, 89 or 90, and came to the first workshop as a student just to learn. And basically with the saxophone, I've learned just by listening to these guys and other saxophone players and just picking up as much as I could. So that's what I did. And I do the doubles. Marino and I have done a lot of shows together and playing clarinet, saxophone, flute, etc. And so that's my history with these fellows.
Okay. Steve Aaron. Yes, go ahead, Steve. Tell us.
Hi, Vito. Thanks for having us on, and it's an honor to be on this program with all of you guys. Well, I started with the group in 2017 upon invitation from Marino. But going back further, I grew up in McKeesport and then went to Duquesne University pursuing studies in bassoon performance, and at the same time also pursuing a career in musical instrument repair. And upon graduation from Duquesne University, I was hired to work at Pittsburgh Public Schools in the music repair department. It's a department that services the school district's musical instrument inventory. And through that job, I became became friends with Marino, and we started a good friendship. And then going, further along, I was invited to assist the group in some of the rehearsals, and at later point, I was invited to join the group.
Okay.
And it's been my honor to work with these guys, and it's been a lot of fun.
And so you were a student at the music school at Duquesne. What years were you at
Yes.
Duquesne?
But I was a bassoon performance major. I started saxophone way back in middle school, and then switched to bassoon, and it was a long hiatus from playing the instrument. But playing it seriously, that is, I always had it, in access so that I can do the work and repair work. But not until I was invited to work with the quartet that I have to really start taking it more seriously and focus my efforts to be
Sure.
a decent saxophone player.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have Warren, baritone saxophone, and Warren's wife, Andrea, was part of my staff at West Mifflin as a teacher there.
Well, I mean, thanks for having us all on. This is really a great get together. Just appreciate, Marino, just echoing some of the sentiments of like the 50+ year history here. knowing you guys and just being a part of each other's lives. Always. One little thing I was thinking there, Steve, you're the youngest and most recent, but actually Steve and I touched together at one point when he was in the high school band. I was helping the woodwind section out at the woodwinds at McKeesport High School, and my son was in the band at the same time. So and beyond that, Steve and I have come to find out that his mom and I actually grew up near the same little town of Bowerstown, Pennsylvania, many moons ago. So such little connections are really fun to see and do and be a part of. But anyway, and it was just again giving Nestor credit for I came to Duquesne like Mike. I was 2 years at Teal College as a chemistry major, majored in music, and now that's why I sell chemicals to make a living. So I'm the one guy that's kind of a little different here, in that I just once I finished up 4 years of teaching in Uniontown, and right around that same point is when I exited the quartet after the first couple of years, as my life got busier and things changed for me. So my career path turned out a little different, but I was always able to maintain contact with all these guys, and still hung around the music people, and still played some gigs here and there, and just kind of kept half a finger in it, just enough to the point where when it was time to fill a slot here at the end, I got to come back for the finale of it all, and it's really pretty cool. The other comment I had was one of the things when we got this thing together, I got in the group because I owned a Barry. I was a clarinet major, but I owned a Barry because in high school I played with it was called the John Harrison Major Minor Big Band. And this guy had played with Glenn Miller during the war. And he had gotten all these kids together over the years. He started in 1951 and had this band go on for years and years and years. And I got to play in it in high school. And at one point, a couple of gals that were playing in the band with him said, hey, they need a Barry player. And I borrowed the Shaler High School Barry that was all beat up and broken up, and with a little spit and rubber band and masking tape, put the thing together and got in that band. And because I got so excited about it and loved it so much, I bought a Barry. So by the time I got to Duquesne, there I was with a Barry, and there were these guys waiting to have a Barry player for a quartet. And I just, the only one of of all the things that we ever did, getting the quartet probably did more for my musical development, because we spent so much time. We were so paid so much attention to detail. It just really formed and shaped me as a musician right from the get-go when we were in school. So
excellent.
But, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Dave Matthews. Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Matthews. I went to Duquesne, graduated in 1973, studied with Nestor and Bernie Cirilli. I got to play in a quartet with William Schwab. I was the Barry player in that quartet for 2 years. And then in 73, we formed the TRSQ, and I played alto in that group for a number of years. I will echo what Warren said a few minutes ago. Playing in the quartet developed my musicianship and my skills more than anything else that I've done. I also taught 25 years in the North Hills School District, 19 as a high school band director alongside my dear friend Rita Kalagiris. So it's been a great joy to work with all of these guys for so many years. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. George Furlow. George.
Yes. Thank you, Vito, for having me on. And I just have a love for all these guys here in the quartet. And I came to Duquesne out of community college and went straight to Duquesne. Nestor Koval got me in. I studied with him for a while, studied with Bernie Cirilli. Graduated from Duquesne and immediately started teaching school right after Duquesne. And my pathway took a little different twist. So I became very engrossed in a lot of Christian music. So I did a lot of gospel. And from the 90s, all through the 90s, I traveled with Integrity Music, playing saxophone and iwi and flute. And we would go to different towns all over the nation and then actually worldwide. And we would give concerts of worship and praise. And and I would get to teach about improvisation, and was played with the Pittsburgh Symphony a few times. But our quartet was really the thing that got us all together. And I would have to say that my sound was developed as a classical saxophone player, and then I had to change a bit and become more of a pop player, and that you do in pop music. But always grateful for everything that I learned in the quartet and all of my studies in the classical realm. And then after my stint with Integrity Music was over, I was 17 years at Geneva College as an adjunct saxophone professor there. And so now I'm still in the music world as a music pastor at Covenant Church of Pittsburgh. And from there, I run the production team, the worship team, and have a wonderful life. Still playing. I'm playing a big band now, and some quartets. In fact, there was a couple times, Vito, I even played with you when I was about, I don't know, 18 maybe. And you on your quarter box.
Oh yeah.
Fell in love with the quarter box. I always want to hear one. You were so great at that. But so I've had a wonderful music career, and I don't plan to retire like many of us. I just want to keep going until I can't go no more.
That's right. Musicians don't retire. We just keep playing until we can't play it.
Yep.
That's right. Well, guys, thank you for the introductions. I'd like to show a video, short clips of the group, which highlights some of the arrangers who have arranged music for the 50 history. Before I do, Marino, could you give us a little history? Well, actually, the genesis of the Saxophone Quartet, how you said that it was actually started as the Duquesne University Saxophone Quartet. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we did get together. Nestor had a nice program because he had a pretty big saxophone class.
Yeah.
So we got the opportunity to play and sometimes play different instruments. Somebody would play soprano in one group, and then in the next group maybe play alto, tenor, and so on and so forth. But we kind of got that configuration together. I'm going to say 71 or 72. We called ourselves the Duquesne Saxophone Quartet because we were kind of set at that time. And then once we got out of school, we figured we better not associate with Duquesne because someone else may have that. So we developed our name, which we couldn't take Pittsburgh because our saxophone professor, Nestor Koval, had that name, Pittsburgh Saxophone Quartet. So we came up with the three-rower Saxophone Quartet. We did a lot of playing of music that was, at the time, considered the standard repertoire. And we were patterned after like the groups in France, mainly by the French saxophonist Marcel Mule, who was in the professor of saxophone at the Paris Conservatory. And we did a lot of college concerts, school concerts. Our big thing was we won the Pittsburgh Concert Society auditions, and we did that as an evening concert. But we did so many of those college and evening concerts in our first years together. Mm-hmm. And then that morphed into other things, which we can talk about later, because our programming was very rigid and solid in the beginning years, and we've opened up to the different styles of music as the years went by. So that's pretty much that.
Okay. So this video that I'm going to show, this is actually footage from the 50th anniversary concert.
Yes.
Let me show this video. There you go. Okay. Very
Yeah.
good.
I always liked that Haydn. I always loved that piece.
Yeah, it was a wonderful piece.
Yep.
So I have a photo. We don't have a lot of photos. I have more videos than photos, but this one here I think is significant because is this really the first group in like the 70s? I think this is around 1974. Is that right?
That's correct. That photograph was taken by Jim Shepard, who's a great friend of all of ours. And that was on top of Mount Washington, of course. We were all in tuxedos then.
Yeah, nice picture there. So we're going to look at the group now, basically in decades. You know what happened in the 70s. So I have a video that I'd like to play. This one here. Let's take a look at this, and then after I play this video, then maybe we have Warren. I think Warren and George might have a little story to share. We'll talk about that after we watch this here. Wow. There's a lot of notes going on there, huh? You guys get paid by the note?
We actually closed all of our programs with that piece for the first 4 or 5 years.
That's great.
I love that piece.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
George,
That was-
you and
that was
had a little story.
Pretty much our signature piece for all those years.
Warren, why don't you tell you?
All right. Well, yeah. Well, you know, so much of making music is the adventures you have that surround the music. And in those days, that piece came together, and I because this group rehearsed every Saturday for 6 hours, and again for 3 hours on a Wednesday night. And I can still think about rehearsing that. And I used to. All the other guys had the runs. All the other guys had really tough stuff, and they would, and I just had to kind of get in the last, like to finish it off or something. You know, the work that went into that piece was just incredible. When we formed the Pittsburgh group, it was, and I really, Marino, had to be your vision. I mean, I kind of remember going, wow, this is pretty exciting, because the idea was we were going to put together a program and advertise ourselves and make ourselves available to various entities, including colleges, as a performing group. So it was like a pretty exciting, like you know, vision. And so we, at that time, I guess we became aware of Paul Brody in Canada, in Toronto. And all three of the other guys they were the conservatory majors. I was the clarinetist in the group, and I never did study saxophone. Anyway, but they all wanted to take a lesson with Paul, and then we all wanted we wanted him to get a group. So we decided we were going to travel to Toronto so everybody could take a lesson, and it was in the middle of winter. I had just bought a 1975 Volkswagen Rabbit, and
What color was it?
Rally green. It was a very green.
We called it puke green.
Anyway, so but imagine this: 6 saxophones and 4 guys in a Volkswagen Rabbit. But it was amazing because there was just enough of a trunk in the back of the hatch that the Barry could sit on the bottom, the tenor sat on it, and an alto. Then there was a shelf for another alto and the soprano. So the saxophones were stacked up like a tree in the back of the car. So we leave on a Friday night. We're going to take this lesson on Saturday. So we're leaving. I guess we all hooked up at my parents' place out in Shaler Township, and we're leaving to go to Toronto. It's like Friday night at 9 o'clock. It was, we were nuts. I mean, we're going to drive all night and then go take lessons and play and then drive home. I mean, but we were all young. Nobody had any money. So we're just doing this thing. So lo and behold, we get up near Erie and it starts to snow like crazy.
Oh boy.
And one of those big old lake effect jobs. And by the time we got on I-90, they closed it. And so we have to get off. And I can remember the car kind of like just like doing a couple chugs and then all of a sudden, like, I didn't know what was going on with it, but it ran. So we stopped by, we got something to eat. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then look, anybody in their right mind would have turned around at that point and gone home. I mean, we didn't know any better. That's the young and dumb thing, right? So we get a map book out because we had nothing. There was no cell phones. There was no map. We had to read a map. So we literally mapped a course across through Buffalo on Route 5. And for some reason I thought, I'm gonna get some gasoline. And it wouldn't take a whole lot of gas for some reason. And I don't know if the gauge was telling me it was full or was telling me something wasn't quite right. But anyway, we progress on through the night. And by early morning, we were on the Queenie Way and the car quits. I mean, it just dies on the Queenie Way. It's about 10 degrees out. And I don't really remember exactly, but a policeman must have come. We got a tow. Took us to we were near Hamilton. We were still 25 miles from Toronto, and the guy says, "Up, you got a bad fuel pump." Well, it's Saturday morning. There's no dealers open. Nobody's going to fix this thing. So I don't know how we even managed this, guys, because we got on some train. We got public transportation and finished off the last 25 miles. Wow. I mean, still remember the train like stopping at Port Credit and Mimico and all these places we'd never heard of before in our life, and we hoofed it. We got off a bus, the train to a bus, and got into Paul's studio in time for everybody to take their lesson and for the group to play for Paul. So at that point, I guess Dave and George must have more money than anybody because they were able to afford a bus ticket home. and Paul took them and put them on the bus and got them out of town. And Marina, Paul took us to dinner that night, did he not? I remember him taking us to dinner. Yeah. And then, but then he said, well, we have company this weekend. We don't have any place for you guys, but you can stay here at the studio. Well, the studio was as stark as any Duquesne University practice room. It just, chairs, music stands, a couple of tables, hard, thin carpeted floor. And God bless you, Marina, you hung with me that weekend. I was like, so I think I was trying to remember how we managed to let our imaginations run wild, but we were going to start a school of private investigations or something. And we were inventing courses called File Searching 101 and just jagging around for a couple of days with little or nothing to do. Didn't have any money. There was a great restaurant. But I mean, nobody had a credit card even back then. I mean, we were just basically broke kids. I think we managed to scrape together a few toiletries at a drugstore nearby. But anyway, so, we bided our time and when we found the same transportation back to Hamilton to the gas station where the car was. So the guy puts the car, I think we get back there and he starts messing with the car again. And he goes, yeah, no, that's not the fuel pump. It's not the fuel pump. Puts it up on the rack, bangs on the tank. He goes, is there any gas in this car? Well, I said, as far as I know. Well, we went over, it would only take like 3 gallons of gas. And I'm like, so I said, let me take it. So I took it for a ride. I mean, I just beat them mercilessly. I just tried to get it to stall, quit, or anything, but it ran. Well, long story short, and I'll end this because Marina and I wound up driving the car home, stopping every 25 or 30 miles and putting gasoline in it.
Oh my
And we
goodness.
got to the dealer. The guy said, yep, this happened to one other guy. He said the vent lines on the gas tank had frozen, and the fuel pump sucked the gas tank down to about 2 gallons. He said, you're lucky because the other guy that came in, he didn't have any room in his gas tank.
Oh wow.
So that was a story that
That's yeah.
when this group gets together, before we talk about any music we did, we talk about some of these things that that happened in the course of us having, pursuing our.
Good story. George,
Yeah.
you have a story you want to tell about?
Yep, I actually have 2 short ones. In an addendum to Warren's Volkswagen, I had a 1970, something like that, Volvo. And you remember how big Volvos were? So
Yeah.
we decided we'd throw everything into my Volvo and go to Canada in that. And we did. We went up to Toronto. We took lessons. I think we may have met Paul somewhere in Moon River or something. And then we all headed back to Pittsburgh. And Marino was in the driver's seat, and I was driving, and Dave and Warren were in the back. Marino looks at me and he goes, George, is it getting dark out? I went, I don't think so, Marino. So driving a little bit more, and I said, man, I can't see anymore. Well, lo and behold, we pull over, and, this is typical of cars back then. The bolt that held my generator or alternator onto the frame of the motor had snapped in half, and we were just running on pure battery.
Oh boy.
So I can't remember. I think we went to a gas station and a guy put a bolt in it and off we were going.
Wow.
So but that was typical for all of us. We traveled together. We ate together. We did all things together. We laughed and we got mad at each other and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Then my last little story was I'm newly married. This would have been in 76. This was not Three Rivers. This would have been probably the Duquesne Sax Quartet, but we were still a quartet at that point. Is that correct, Marino?
76, we were Three Rivers.
Okay, we were Three Rivers. We were preparing for the concert society. That's what it was.
Yes,
So I lived in Greensburg. I was teaching school, and we had the top floor of a house. So it was a Pittsburgh square home, 4 bedrooms, and that was our apartment. We had a kitchen, a dining room, 2 bedrooms, and an attic. So my wife was great with child. Let me just say, great with child. And she was so great with child, she was in bed. Okay, so it didn't matter to us, dumb men that we were. We decided still we were going to have our practicing, and I would leave a bell down with my wife, and if she needed it, she would do this and ring it. So we're upstairs just waxing elephantly on our instruments, and all of a sudden I hear ding a ding a ding a ding a ding ding, and I go down, and she's saying, "Man, I'm not feeling good." But the fact is that we were so dumb as men, we didn't really understand what we should have done was, why don't we let this woman have her baby and we'll practice after the baby's born and we'll get all stuff together. No, we had to practice our 6 hours in the attic of Greensburg.
Yep.
And we all laugh about that. My wife, she kind of laughs, but
Not too much.
not too much.
I don't think it was too funny for her.
So that was that's how dedicated we were to being the best we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's funny. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the 80s. I have a short video I'd like to play, and then we can talk about this. I think Dave might have a story. This is the Rimsky-Korsakov Bumblebee. Let me. This is in the 80s. Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet. Here we go. Yeah. Wow, that's great. I like that. I like that arrangement too.
Yeah.
So, Dave, you have a story you want to share with us?
So in the 1980s, George and Warren went on to other pursuits. And so Al Morrison joined us on alto, and Chet Sporney, who was such a great man. He had been the Barry player in Nestor's quartet. He joined us, and he had such a beautiful baritone. And we used to rehearse at his beautiful home in Emsworth. His wife, Irene, would usually put a spread out for us. Our repertoire at that time kind of changed a bit. You know, in the 70s, we were focused so much on the French repertoire, Marcel Mule and such, and on transcriptions, things by Bach. In the 80s, we added some jazz, things like Nestico's Study in Contrast, Larry Sarita's Gershwin Medley. We played quite a few outdoor concerts at that time, things like the Pittsburgh Concert Society, Three Rivers Arts Festival, Bach, Beethoven, and Brunch. A story that I remember so well, we all went to a pirate game together, and we were all sitting there. We had great seats. If I'm not mistaken, Chet provided the tickets, and I was sitting between Chet and Irene, and there was a foul ball that came up off the bat of then shortstop UL Washington, came right to me, and I caught it.
Wow.
I don't think anyone else remembers UL Washington, but he was a shortstop you remember him? He was a shortstop for a very short time, and he used to put he kept a toothpick in his mouth when he batted. Yeah. So Chet passed away around 1987, and in the summer of 88, we figured it would be easier to find a tenor player than a Barry player. So I bought a cuff Barry, and I played Barry from 1989 until 2012.
Wow. That's great.
It was a great experience. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, good. All right, let's talk now. Let's move on to the 90s. And I have a short video I'd like to play, and then we can talk about Mike might have a story to share. I'm going to play. This is a Bach gig. Let me see if hear a video. It's this one here. Do you have a story you wanted to share with us about this era?
Yeah, I came into the group somewhere around, I don't know, Marina, what do you think, around 96?
Yeah, right around there.
Somewhere around there. And like I said before, what was great about playing with this group is I learned a whole new body of literature that I didn't know. Because as a clarinetist, I did a lot of woodwind quintets and small ensembles and orchestras. So this was a great opportunity for me just to learn a lot and to play music that I had never heard before. I do want to tell one story. Now, I asked Marina for permission. Can I tell the wooden bench story?
Yes, absolutely.
Marina and I have done a lot of shows together over the years. And one particular night, it must have been, I think it was a rehearsal, I'm not sure, or for performance. But typical, Marina was sitting there practicing, he's playing flute, and he's sitting, and we were in the pit, and there was a build-up, a ramp on the outside of the pit for the performers to sing their tunes. And so Marina's playing away, and all of a sudden I hear him go, ow! And some of the workmen were moving a wooden, Marina says it was an oak bench, I think it was. And as they swung it around, they hit him right in the head.
Oh,
Now, the pro that he is, after he recovered, he never missed a note after that. I think maybe it knocked some sense into him. It was perfect. But that was, I thought, oh my God, what happened? But he was fine, and he continued to play the rest of the night. Marina.
Doctor visit ensued afterwards, though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
you didn't have to go to the emergency room, did you, Marino?
No, I didn't do that, but
That's good. It wasn't that bad, right?
it was bad.
It was bad. Yeah.
So I have a video that I'd like to show that has a lot of photos of guest artists that performed with your group, and also a lot of workshops that you did and presented. Marina, before I show this video, would you like to enlighten us with some of these pictures that we're going to see in this video?
Yeah, from 1990 to 2014, 24 years, we hosted a saxophone workshop. It actually started at Duquesne University, but they wouldn't give us the opportunity for housing, so that the first 3 years were just basically a day camp. After that, we searched and we found that we could go to Cal U, and we spent the rest of the, what is that, what did I say, 21 years at California University, Pennsylvania. And they provided housing and the full boat for us. So that worked out really well. We tried to incorporate our local Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania talent with some of the most recognizable names in the world as far as saxophone music and even clarinet music go. So we hosted this workshop, and we brought in so many great players like Phil Woods, Ernie Watts, Nick Brignola, Chris Vidal, Ken Peplowski, Jerry Bergonzi, Martin Colby, Don Alico Jr. and Sr., Fred Hemke, Donald Senta, James Umble, Dale Underwood, Keith Young, Joe Murphy, John Sampin, Doug and Wendy Pullen, Lynn Clark, myself 1 year, and our wonderful faculty, which basically included Jim Shepard, Dale Hertrick, Rick Mansfield, Jim Nesbitt, and Mike Tamero. And we put together like a week's worth of study, ensembles, small and large, clinics, master classes, and again, all topics related to playing saxophone and woodwinds in general. So this was a highlight for me because I have to be honest, in the very beginning, our first guest was Don Senta, and all of the guests in the very beginning were people I wanted to see. I was only denied by several that I really wanted to see, and the denial was mainly because of travel restrictions. So at any rate, you'll see some of these wonderful musicians, and usually in a group photo with the quartet at the time.
I just have a real quick story because you mentioned Don Senta, and I wasn't really familiar with it. It was 1981, I believe, and I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the university there is it's kind of a Purdue and of Indiana um, and they had commissioned me to write a piece, and I was there, and Dawn Cinta was on this program, and I was walking down beside the hallway, down the hallway, and the practice room, and I heard this guy practicing, and I looked in, Dawn Cinta in there just warming up, and he was playing arpeggios so fast that it sounded like chords.
Yeah.
I was like amazed. I never heard anybody play the saxophone quite like him. I mean, it was just so fast, and I was just like, wow, who is this guy? Because I've really had, but sure, I quite an artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me play this video. This is, like I said, this is going to show a lot of these folks that you just described and talked about. There you go. Nice.
Wow.
I do want to say that, in many of those pictures, and even on the recordings that you played there with the celebrating 25 years, the lady that you saw was Marcy Westerland, who probably put together about 25 years or more with the quartet. And, just due to her husband moving and, being out of the area where we could conveniently get together, she left the group. And then unfortunately, she passed due to Lou Gehrig's disease in February before 23, right before the concert that we did. So that was pretty tragic there for her. The players that you saw with us as a group, they're all top artists worldwide, recording artists. One of the favorites for me was, of course, Phil Woods, but the other one was Ernie Watts, who I was a big fan of. When you'd watch The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, he was the tenor player.
Yeah.
And I thought it a big coup to get both him and Phil Woods for our little organization in California. So that's that. Yeah.
Very nice. It's you guys have done a lot and really wide variety of music. Really great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 2000s. Short video I'd like to play, and this is a song, Gershwin song, "Summertime." Let me play this video here. Okay. Go. Wow. Nice. And that was Mike Jacob with the solos. Any comments about that performance or that arrangement or?
Yeah, I can interject a little bit. For a brief period of time, I lived and worked in Canada, and I was a member of a couple of different groups there. And one of the groups I was with was the Canadian Saxophone Quartet. Larry Sarita is a saxophonist from Toronto, and I got, he was a friend of mine, and he wrote a lot of jazz stuff and TV jingle stuff and so on and so forth. And he wrote this particular arrangement for a group he played in before, Pop Forward. But I like to consider him one of the Canadian arrangers for us because we had quite a few from Canada. Actually, in the workshop photos that you showed, two of the people there, John Price and Jim Pybus, are from Canada, Ontario, and they were big contributors for us both, writing wise and also playing wise. They came in occasionally to play along with the group. Larry Sarita wrote that arrangement. It's been recorded by the Paul Brody Saxophone Quartet and by us. So, that's a favorite piece of mine. We like to sometimes close the program with it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about from 2010 on to the current time. Steve, you joined the group in, I believe it was 2007. Do you have a story you'd like to share, or would you like me to play this video first?
Well, I would like to go back a little bit.
Okay.
My first experience with the Three River Saxophone Quartet occurred late 1990s. I attended a concert in White Oak, Pennsylvania, of the group, and that was my first experience with hearing a saxophone chamber ensemble. And I remember reading through the program, and I noticed that the tenor saxophonist was a bassoonist, and I just thought that was great and just inspiring to know that somebody else was interested in those pursuits. And I went up afterward and I introduced myself to Marcy, and we had a nice conversation. And it was just a nice. Well, I had no idea that I would eventually join the group and filling that position that she held for so many years. And but having that initial experience with hearing that concert really excited my interest in saxophone chamber ensemble, chamber music, and then later when I became good friends with Marino and I was invited to join the group, I had to accept the onboarding experience. And saying that, though, it's been a lot of work, a lot of the rehearsals. We put a lot of work in, and but most importantly, we had really good lunches afterwards, and it's been a great experience work with the guys and making music with them. And I haven't been with the group as long as the other guys, but I really enjoyed my time with the group.
I was going to write a book about, I had We Three for 49 years, and I was going to write a book, and it was going to be called Not Another Club Sandwich. Every time we would go to someplace, they'd give us a club sandwich, a few potato chips. That was the meal. I'm going to play this video. Let me play this, and this is this one here. Have you met Miss Jones? There you go. Nice. Yeah,
that was 2018. That was at a concert we played at West Liberty Park.
And so finally, let's talk about the 50th anniversary concert, which was held on June 4th, 2023 at the Mount Lebanon United Lutheran Church. A lot of, and I'm going to play the final video, which is going to show really a saxophone choir, some of which people that arranged music for the group and some conducted, et cetera, et cetera. So before I play that, first of all, I said this before, but I think it's really notable. This group in 1973, it is 2026. Really congratulate all of you guys for all the hard work you put in over the years and really sticking with it, keeping the group together, and it's wonderful. Doesn't happen a lot, let me tell you. It's not easy. Let me play this last video, and this is a video shows. This is again from your 50th anniversary concert, and it shows this whole choir of saxophones, and I think even a rhythm section, right?
Yes.
And then, if there's any comments after, then we can hear some comments. Let's play that. That's a lot of saxophones, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I invited saxophonists that worked with us, for us, taught with our workshops. Everybody we came in contact with, and again, Florida, Illinois, Virginia. We had a saxophonist come in from Puerto Rico. We had a couple come in from Canada. And we really didn't have much rehearsal for that. And I'm going to give a shout out to George, because George did yeoman double duty in recording the actual audio plus playing. And we had a videographer as well.
Well, great. Guys, it's been wonderful having you on the program and hearing your stories and your memories. And it's very, very good. I mean, great group, and keep up the good work. That's what I would say. Keep it going.
Thank you very much, Vito.
Yeah.
Steve,
Thank you,
being
Vito.
the younger guy,
Thank you, Vito.
his shoulders.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye to you one by one here. George, you have a great day. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Thank you.
Warren, talk to you soon. Okay.
Hey,
Dave,
Warren.
good having you on the program. Thank you. Okay. Mike, you take
Yep.
care, buddy. Okay.
Thanks, buddy. Okay.
All right. And Steve, we'll see you soon. All right. Marino, thanks again.
Thank you, Vito.
And there you have it, another episode of Memories of a Musician with the Three Rivers Saxophone Quartet. Some great guys, great musicians. Just wonderful that this group has been together so long. It's incredible. Looking ahead, so many of you know my wife Lana and I left Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania about a little over 3 years ago and moved full-time to Naples, Florida. And since living here for nearly 20 years, both as a snowbird and now a full-time resident, I've directed and performed in many concerts here in Naples. And there are many fine musicians here in Naples as well. And I've had the pleasure to meet and work with many of them. And I plan to start interviewing some of them as we move forward here. My first guest from Naples, Florida, is coming up next week, February 18th. His name is Steve DeLauderante. Steve is an excellent trumpet player and is currently the music director of the North Naples Church and is a former music educator, having been the band director for the Gold Coast High School, where their marching band was 400 members strong. Yes, you heard that right, 400 students on the field. It's unbelievable. The podcast will be streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Steve DeLauderante on Memories of a Musician at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, February 18th. Thank you for joining us this evening, and you have a great evening.